Hello, fellow armchair generals. This is, of course, Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3's Black Ice 11.2. Now, I want to say I'm sorry for not really putting too many videos up, just a few last week. So this will be the week after by the time I'm going up with this. Just things, and no great excuses. Just things got in the way, and I didn't make too many videos, and the few extra that I had just didn't get up there. So but really do appreciate all who watch, and I really do hate to disappoint people who don't don't have their entertainment that they want, including Lawless. Lawless is a long-time viewer here. Got a haircut. Well, I'm doing good. It's been quite a while since I've had a haircut. My hair's longish. I want to get it shorter, just haven't gone to the barber recently. I've never really liked going to the barber, but yeah, a little something about me. Okay, now I want to thank Son for posting multiple posts over time, and he's really suggesting that I should have a base, not modified, but a base of 500 ICs to fight the two front war, and I'm not disagreeing with that at all. As being what should be. I am not going to at the moment. Now, make mistakes, certainly I do. Start putting in ICs. Probably should, like I say. Why am I not? Well, one, I don't plan on fighting a two-front war right off the bat. I'm sending some of my forces that are still around here. Well, let's see if we can find a decent general. That's what we can. Patton? No. Devers? I don't know Devers. These things. I'm planning on trying to come in here and reinforce the British, maybe help them with Ethiopia, and yes, you could call that a front, but I'm not a theater front level type two front war. I'm looking at just sort of getting stabilizing the British a bit, if you will. But open up the Coke here. You look at the people, the Americans in 1939, they see world tensions increasing. I mean, obviously, even before that. But even they are not like, oh, well, of course there's going to be a world war, as opposed to, oh, I don't know, just a Franco-German war or something, fought for a few years and it's just sort of, isolated or something like that. Or whatever that might be, or there might be even no war. But they realize that world tensions are coming up higher and that there can be an outbreak of war, and obviously in 39 there is an outbreak of war, not yet in my opinion classified as a because it's a Anglo-Franco German war that breaks out in 39. You sort of put the Soviets, well, whatever. And so with that, they do start a naval building program. And then, obviously Pearl Harbor happens in December of 41. And America really then starts a massive naval building program. And they don't know, hello, Adam, Ostland, how you doing? Ah, son, just mentioning you. Yeah, good to have you here. And I'm not disagreeing with um, your requirement to have a base ICs of 500. I think that is maybe very correct, or likely very correct. Yeah, another European war. Yeah, a European war doesn't necessarily have to, and if you, especially if you're looking at America at the time, because yes, they got into World War One, and having America in there moved it from the Great War because it was, more than just a Franco-Prussian War version 2 or something, into a world war, because China and Japan were participants in the war, particularly, so that really makes it a world war, not just America. But obviously, not all of the American, Latin American states were in it or whatever, but so much of the world was. But America could look back in the history of seeing exactly what is virtually a world war. I mean, it happens all over the globe. Sort of, kind of getting that, not really down to Antarctica, but out into, because there's attacks on whaling fleets and whatnot down in the South Atlantic. It's the Napoleonic Wars, and America is drawn into that with against the British at that time. And then you do have things like the Franco-Prussian War. So there's no like, oh hey, big European war, America must get into it mentality. But there's definitely a no longer, oh hey, that treaty of limitations on the types and numbers and sizes of ships and all these kind of limitations, that's gone. So they start scrapping that. And once Japan attacks America, America really starts on a naval building program, and they end up canceling a lot of ships starting, maybe sort of 45. But a lot of the carriers, a lot of the stuff you see is coming out. Is getting launched in 44, in 45, because it just takes 2-3 years to build some of these battleships and carriers, and not that it's like started in 40, because you're virtually starting everything in 42. 2 years, okay, that's 44, 45. And I did not want America to be in that position. I am not sure how they're going to handle, because I haven't honestly not played. I don't know if there's going to be some sort of scripted. I know somebody who, if you have, you can tell me, but you don't need to. If there's going to be some sort of scripted removing of my battleships, here we go, and the other battleship group down here. Auto sinking the Arizona and whatnot. So worried a bit about that, that it's going to be sunk. And so I want this fleet, and I don't even have anywhere near enough naval aircraft to put. I actually have a group of CVLs up here that have no naval aircraft sitting on them, with Spruance commanding them. So these are just going to sit in port now, but well, naval aircraft are much faster to build than ships. So I wanted a lot of ships to be able to start the war in the naval sense with, significant fleets and or, because here we can look at these battleships. They're coming in April, June, August of 43, and we're not even, done with 41 yet, and these guys are halfway built. Some of these other heavy cruisers obviously would be a lot, maybe just as the war starting, coming in, and yes, we have some of these carriers, and I built a lot of carriers, so might not have made the best choice, but I'm not planning on doing a mad rush into the European theater. It's not quite put the European theater second, because I am planning on, if we're doing okay in the Pacific, sending a lot of these fleets in and around Europe and making sure we're containing the Germans. And hello, Arno. My friend Arno is here and is monitoring. If you're just watching later on YouTube, I am simulcast streaming onto um, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Even there's a live. You can watch me live and listen live on Twitter right now or later. I mean, it stays there. And later, because I don't yet have, at least not connected ability through Restream, though to some people it's opened up to be able to do live, I think, on Rumble. But you can, of course, and all of my videos get mirrored up over on Rumble. So I do have, and those views are smaller. They're like, I don't know, a lot of them are 7 or 20 or whatever views on a video over on Rumble. But at least I'm there and supporting alt tech and having alternative ways other than some of the big ones to view it. And so if you're on any of those other platforms watching now or in future, please say hi. Because when Arno says hi, now I don't get the immediate feedback on during the live stream from Twitter, which, you know, they had Periscope and they bought Periscope and they killed Periscope over there. And oh man, those Twitter people seem to want to do everything they can to destroy their platform. Because I believe with Periscope, you could see popped up on your screen people's live comments that you could read. But to the best of my knowledge, there is none of that with Twitter streaming. And there's definitely no abilities to see that through the Restream, but there should be if they kept up Periscope. But they were stupid. People on Twitter are stupid. Maybe I should just say people are stupid. Would that be better, Arno? Just say people are stupid. Okay, so let's go not super fast because we're nearing the war. I know means it's going to take. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is with these, those are bombers. Let's put these here. We're going to get a few more. We can figure out it. No, we don't have very good. Okay, night fighters. I don't know. Other historical base. I'm more willing to use, and these are these guys, old guys here. No, they weren't fighter commanders, I don't think, at that age. Even generals. Okay, we'll put him in. I'm more because I don't like using the what I believe are truly fictitious as opposed to just simply didn't take the time to find the photo of images with playing as Germany because myself a bit. I mean, there's 100 or so, but also other people that have, including Revolver Held, have added a lot of command presence to Germany, so I'd rather not have the fictitious ones. Hello, Virgo28. Good to have you here. Glad everyone's saying hi to hi doing. And hello, ZZ over on Twitch. I am doing well. I hope you're doing well, Virgo. Have you ever played other Paradox games? Oh, son, yes. Before I ever really heard of Paradox way back in the old days, I bought, in the stores because you really didn't have online buying of games back then. Universalis. Not one, just the base. I mean, eventually it becomes called one. But that, and I played the hell out of the original Europa Universalis. Played the hell out of that game. And then 2. I played the hell out of the, EU2, played the hell out of that game. Didn't play much of 3, and I've only played a bit of 4, mostly with multiplayer on EU. I played a little bit of CK2. Played a bunch, and I actually have, I don't know, like 20, I have a bunch of released episodes for Imperator Rome, or a bunch of released episodes for Imperator Rome. I have maybe like 20 unreleased, because they were just doing so bad, viewer-wise, with after the final, what ends up being the final DLC release for it. Now, finally gets the game to where it should have been at release, which I actually think when they stopped development for it, and it's gotten such a bad reputation, people aren't playing it by that point. I understand that. But it's actually gotten good. Not great or anything, not very good, just good. Better than okay. Imperator Rome, played that. So, oh yeah, I've played other Paradox games for sure. So, you can, if you want to check out my channel, just look around and go to the playlists, and you'll see playlists for other Paradox games. So about, end of quote, repeat, line, well, I know politics has always been, way back to whenever, a tribal sport, and you sort of pick your tribes. And you may love all of Biden's policies, every single one of them. You may think that they're the best possible policies that an American president could have, or anyone. Maybe you think you're not actually a Marxist or whatever, but you think he's the best possible of everything. Policies that he has, but you can't really anymore, in my opinion, think that he's mentally all there. So we have the leader who doesn't know what country he's talking about often, who's supposedly leading this country. Now you're going to presume, well, of course, the defense secretary, which I don't know if you looked into the man at all, scary, or the other cabinet ministers are actually really running the government, because I actually know that there's people that sort of goes back to, maybe, I don't know, to Wilson or FDR or something, that they want Mr. Drew, the government administrator, to sort of run the government and have sort of cabinet governments, meaning specialists in each area, the agricultural department and then the, defense department or whatever, and each run their own sort of administrative policies, untethered to political parties and whatnot. And so elected leaders really aren't important. There is a whole belief system around that as being the best governance, and that these departments should, not that they always do, but should be, internally grooming their people and picking the ones that, of course, have the right agricultural policies, administers, programs, viewpoints, or whatever are picked, because they just promote those guys internally and push out the other ones, and just have government that way, not right or left or this party or this other party, but just want to have an administrative government that is largely unaccountable, because hey, they're the best people to run the program. They know it because they're in charge. And there's people that believe that, so they don't care what the political leadership does. And you can see this a lot at this time in like 1941, because you'll have I think it was like one of the ambassadors, some of the people that are running government offices, like in France, the State Department offices, still having not putting up FDR's picture on the wall, putting up whoever was before. I'm blanking on it right now, and sort of ignoring FDR's policy because they're running their own State Department policies, and because they know better than this American elected president, who maybe great at running America, but doesn't know foreign policy, doesn't know how these Europeans do things, and they're just doing all the wrong stuff as they see it. So they sort of run their own foreign policies, in a practical sense back then. And now they eventually, as the war really happens and everything explodes, they'll get finally pushed out. But yeah, no, Biden ain't all there, people. And that should be scaring the shit out of you if you don't realize it. I mean, Putin, hey, he's just I almost said madman. No, Putin isn't a madman. He's a Machiavellian power grabber, I think would be a reasonably good. Smart guy, yeah. So I think Putin is rational. I mean, I don't agree with him. This isn't like, hey, Gamer thinks he's good. No. He's a bad guy, but he's not crazy. He thought he was going to have a quick victory in Ukraine and grab territory. But, if that's scaring Europe, that shouldn't, because that's rational. We got Mr. He's not home in Biden. Again, you can love him, you can hate Trump, and you can hate the Republicans and think the Democrats are the greatest political party, and make sure that you have your nice picture of a guy with a beard in your, in your Twitter bio, but also think you need to put him in there just to make sure that people didn't realize the guy with the photo of you and with the beard on is a man, because you're of that persuasion of gotta fit in with that crowd, and that's the right thing to do. Truly believe that. Until I don't, but you can truly believe that. But you can't keep saying, I know you don't want to admit it out loud, but you can't keep saying that Biden isn't some, there with mental problems. Just got into Vicky 2. I think its economic system is deeper than Hawaii. Well, very well could be. I have Vicky 2, I think. I've never really played it. They're coming out with Vicky 3, but you don't get to manage the armies and wars in Vicky 3, I hear. It's just sort of you tell the computer what you want to do. Abe's assassination was tragic, absolutely. Shinzo Abe, I heard about it within an hour or so, I believe, of the event, happening. And they were at first, they didn't want to admit that he was dead until they got him to the hospital and couldn't revive him. But I gather he had, shot and hit in the heart, so he was giving life signs. So it was probably almost instantaneous, or within a minute or a minute or two, literally, if not instantaneous. But yeah, there's a lot to say about that. It was a political assassination. No, I don't think sponsored by a particular government or a particular movement, maybe, but I don't know, because there are certain cults that have been functioning in Japan for years now, which I know very little about, but periodically they raise their ugly head. That could be an element here. I don't know if the Japanese people want to admit that. If it was, and the guy was definitely supposedly, according to the statements that I've seen translations of, and I don't know if any of these are even said, but supposedly he said he was mad at Abe or whatever, but not against him politically. I guess meaning like ideologically. Meaning just like maybe as being mismanagement, like hey, I'm on your side but you effed up, or I don't know. I don't know, or whether it's just all people hearing statements as the guy's being tackled and hauled off and mishearing them and whatnot. I don't know. I obviously don't know more than what I'm hearing on little news snippets. I think it's a big shock to Japan, because Japanese people, the way their society now it shouldn't be, but they are in ways more comfortable than a lot of the rest of the world, because they've gone back into an isolationist period even harder with COVID. They feel that they are isolated from the world's problems because of their geographical location. They have a very interesting cultural outlook. I'm fascinated by the Japanese. I've been for a long time. I mean, since probably before many of you were born. So don't, I was a weeb, if you will, before there was the term, 20 or 30 years before the term. Fascinated by Japanese culture. Not being Japanese, but just fascinated by it. It's going to be a shock to the system. But if you look back in the 50s and 60s, there were several assassination attempts with knives. And hey, in I think it was 1934, the Democratic leader, they always want to state use, especially leading up to and then during World War II, always want to use Democratic. That's what they're still using to this day. God damn. Representative government is great. Democracies are chaos, people. And what a lot of these democratic people are just want people's. We all get together and agree that socialism is best. Of course, yes. Now we're totalitarians. Hitler, democratically elected Hitler. Does that make it better somehow? I don't know. But the sort of democratically elected prime minister of Japan, who was an anti-interventionist in China guy, that's the important bit, was assassinated by army officers. So you have that history of political assassinations in Japan. And hey, you go back to the Shogun period and before, so you have that. Japan just doesn't want to see it. So I think it's going to be a big shock. I don't know how much it's sunk in yet with the Japanese people, but it's going to be a big shock, I think. Sorry if I'm not typing a lot. Getting where I have open beta, so I want to play it. Okay, no problem. Do you support an intervention economy where the government supports industries, or laissez-faire economy where they just leave things just work normally? Intervention in the economy. This is a complex. I know you can go the Austrian economics and TIK who promotes all this stuff and markets. Well, if you have because there's all elements to an economy if you look at it, but if you have a water company that provides water to a city, to your nation, whatever, because it depends on the size of nations or whatever. You don't want to have 4 or 5 sets of pipes running, to your house that you hook up to the to the one you want, who's going to provide the cleanest water or the cheapest water or the best water, whatever it is. You want to have one water infrastructure, and whether it is privately held or government held, but that's all part of the economy because, right now California is in long-term drought and people use, I think, let me just say, it's probably less than 20%. And we have a huge population, and most of it is down here, where it's dry, where most of the water is up here in the mountains, generated on, with snow and ice and whatever, and then it takes the whole summer to slowly melt down. We're also importing this river, the Colorado River here. This is the Colorado River. Yes, it's all America, your United States, except this last little bit. It doesn't flow to the ocean anymore, people. It stopped flowing to the ocean. No longer goes to the ocean. Not because of global warming, but because of canals and whatnot moving water into Arizona, being taken up by Las Vegas, and being taken up by California. So basically it no longer goes to Mexico. But again, it's America's water, really. It's not like the reverse or somehow. it dips into America and America's stealing it, but it no longer really flows to the ocean. But it's mostly agricultural, and it's been hurting huge amounts. Let me go over to this view. This Central Valley here, if it had enough water, can produce so much food, and it used to produce more than it does now, and it is a massive food center, and it is quite capable of being much better now, because like right now, and California doesn't import most of its water. No, not most of its water. Now, Southern California gets most of its water from other Northern California, and there's a huge aqueducts coming down. But now a lot of its water it does bring in, but not most. Hello, Joseph Smith, and hello, Paulette. I find it weird how nonchalant the shooter is. Yeah, well, yeah, that's sort of weird, and I've seen the video. It just, yeah, but shooters are sort of that way. If you look at like the shooting of RFK, Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy's younger brother, Sirhan, it's, he's just in the crowd pointing up there. You can also sort of like look at the, I think I've only seen still footage, but of, clearly of the shooter, like shooting Pope John Paul II. Yeah, they sort of look that way. It's Operation Torch in 42, Adam. Well, okay, I was going over this a little bit. First, I'm doing a heavy, I want to try to save the Philippines and take out the Japanese fleet. I'm planning on sending sending either to Egypt or down to Ethiopia to help the British out, and slowly building up my army. So I don't know how quickly I'll have enough forces, our military forces for a naval invasion. So it may be even later. We'll see. But sorry, to get back to California. Like we can see right now, because of EU, I understand EU-based reducing of nitrogen or something. The Dutch, who are a agricultural exporter, wanted to shut down some farms, and that's gotten the entire Dutch agricultural community and basically in a rebellion, I would say. I don't know if some of our resident Dutch people want to describe it more clearly, but and that they're shooting it. Maybe at people are driving it. The police are shooting at tractors. I saw the video. But food production isn't necessarily the problem. Food delivery may be the problem, and yes, we're heading towards famine because of some of this stuff. California, and the reason that they're trying to reduce these nitrogen emissions or whatever is because of the global warming crowd. Why are you worried about global warming? Oh, to protect the Earth. So why don't we just everybody, then take bullets up, strangle ourselves and remove humanity from the planet, and then the planet can heal. I don't fucking care about the planet. I care about humanity. Now, of course, if you pollute the planet to where it's unlivable, it's going to hurt humanity. So there's a balance, but the balance as on the tipping board, when you're balancing things out, I'm going to balance towards what I think is the immediate benefit of humanity, while not extremely polluting or destroying the environment for future generations. But today's humanity is more important now than possible humanity down the road, because we may find solutions in the future. Well, these same people, for various quote-unquote environmental reasons, often put around supposedly endangered species supposedly microspecies, shall we say, sometimes little animals, but just meaning something that a sort of subspecies of something that's around here, that they've not allowed more damming to be done in California. So when it does rain, there's a lot of, I mean, they could do a lot of catch dams that would catch, a lot of smallish, relatively smallish dams, but would catch lots of water, not disrupt the environment any significantly, I would say, in my opinion, and capture a lot more water instead of letting it run, and because it runs out into the ocean. It's not like, oh, it's just going to the underground aquifers. No, it's just running to the ocean. The ocean has plenty of water in it, last I checked, and well, it's further than I can throw a stone right now from the ocean that I am, but I live not that far from the ocean, so there's plenty of water out there, and the water levels aren't changing, so we could have a few more dams. But so get back to managed economy. Well, when you're managing the water supply, and so I don't want market forces managing my water, because and it is part of the economy, because we could, and they've shut down a lot of farms in this very fertile area, and we're not talking about some of the farms that are mainly run off of aquifer, and there is a danger of that, is that they're pumping it from deep underground. Economically, it's been cheap enough to pump, energy has been cheap enough to pump it out from deep underground, and you'll see these big farms you fly over that are literally circles, because they have a sprinkling system that's on wheels that makes a big circle, and that's the only thing that they can keep watered well enough to grow a commercial crop of whatever. So you see these green circles, and unless it gets too cold in the winter, it can, because it's sunny all the rest of the time, so spring, winter, and fall, otherwise the seasons don't matter so much. I mean, it matters a bit, but not so much. But they can keep these things going, and these are all farms running out of the aquifer out in Arizona areas. You can see them if you fly over, particularly. These are a bit different farms. They don't use that, and it's more natural. And they are limiting how much you can pump out of the ground here. So you're making decisions to reduce farming, fine. But I don't want it to be a market situation. Is how much is the farmer going to pay versus how much the person who lives in an apartment that goes to work, whether they've killed all the industry by over-regulating various things here in California. So we become a service economy in California that used to be an industrial economy. Again, not too far from what had been a Douglas, and then is still existing as a Boeing facility, aircraft facility, but they have 10 years ago or more, maybe 20 years ago, 10 or 20 years ago, stopped all production of aircraft, which had been, Southern California had been the world center, I would say, of aircraft production. At the end of World War II, it was the world center of aircraft production. And all of it, not most of it, all of it has fled California, not just Southern California. So it's not like, oh, well, hey, they'd rather build homes or, something beach. No, all of it has fled. All of it has fled California. There's still a Boeing facility here. What it does is it does sort of maintenance. So you fly in an aircraft or whatever, and they do maintenance or repairs to like a system on an aircraft or something like that. So because I had a friend who worked there, and whose job, and he was like less than 5 years from retirement, and yep, he was going to move up to the Boeing facility up here because he had like 5 years to retirement, and if he didn't finish out his career there, he wasn't going to get his good retirement. So yep, he was last I was talking to him, this is 10 years ago or more, he was getting ready to move up to Oregon, to where they moved his job. He was a quality assurance inspector on aircraft, and making sure whatever he was doing inspection on that was working right. So the aircraft, I know I haven't checked it. I will pull out. You are over here in the Netherlands angry against those policies. Yeah. No, we've gotten off track, but I do this at times. So yeah, so your airplane doesn't fall out of the sky. So that was his job there, and so they were moving it to Oregon. He thought partially because it wasn't just him. But a lot of the people that he worked with were of a similar age and nearing retirement, and they were hoping. He thinks that the company was hoping most wouldn't make the move, so they wouldn't have to fund the retirement or whatever as much. But yeah, he was going to put up with it for a few years to move to, and that's that and other reasons I've lost contact with him. But so they've driven all of the aircraft manufacturing out of California. They've driven Firestone, which is a major tire manufacturing. I think all tire manufacturing. They've driven all the manufacturing out of Southern California or out of California. Tesla. Elon Musk recently tweeted that he built a Tesla factory in Texas in 18 months. And he said in 18 months, you couldn't get the paperwork done to build that factory, let alone get it even started building. Getting paperwork for the permission to build the factory in California in 18 months. So California is doing everything it can to drive all industry out of it. Oh, it's just to make it better, make the workers' lives better, to make this better, make that better. Well, if you make the workers' lives too good, the jobs will leave, okay? And so whatever, and this is going back, and I know I got distracted here, but what is better, a managed economy, if you will, or a laissez-faire economy? Well, like with all things, there needs to be a balance. So like on water, you need one water system. I do not want people bidding on how much they're willing to pay for water. Farmers versus homeowners. So you need to manage it. But the least practical intervention in the economy. Now, okay, and it varies from size of economies to size of economies. But if we're looking at something the size of America, I would determine strategic needs, shall we say. And one of them, and a lot of the watchers here remember the recent GPU shortage. Not enough GPUs are out there. And a lot of that was the chip shortage and various reasons for it. And I'm going to watch a video about chip manufacturing in Israel, Intel chip manufacturing, not a small company, but they're like doubling the capacity. They've been already up and going for some time, and they're building more capacity in the U.S. I would determine whether it's like screens, whether it's your computer screen, your phone screen, whatever, TV, screens, chips, whatever it might be, automobiles, guns, aircraft. I would determine strategic, and not just the final aircraft that's like assembled here, but key elements of needing, like making aluminum. So you're not, again, for the scale of the United States, not the scale of Belgium or the Netherlands, because they can't, in this modern world, if they were an independent country and not part of the EU, they are not capable of being an independent country for all manufacturing, let alone, well, how much iron ore can the Netherlands dig up to make, if they're going to have iron ore? They cannot be an independent economy. Continental economies might be the U.S. or something like China, which they can't, but some major continental, or the EU, might be, but nothing's ever going to be pure anything. But I would identify strategic needs, things like iron and steel production, aluminum production. Yes, aluminum needs tropics. You've got the alumina that before you needs lots of energy, and a chemical process that only happens in the tropics to create it. So we really don't have enough of that in America. So they import alumina, but figure out strategic things, like whether it's a thing like making aluminum, because it's an industrial process. It's not something the alumina is something it's a powdery substance you dig out of the ground. You got to go through huge manufacturing and using lots and lots of electrical energy, particularly not just heat energy, it's electrical energy, to create aluminum, the metal. So it's a manufacturing process. Determine what these are, and then require a percentage of what America uses to actually be made. All the component elements that are at least theoretically possible to be done in America, a percentage of it. So let's say of the screens that are sold, whether they're computers, phone screens, tablet screens, TV screens, whatever, in-car dash screens on your car, whatever screen, say 20% of those that are sold in either standalone or as part of some other product like a car must be made in America. And if whether the companies are owned by Americans, because you can always either nationalize or temporarily take over control of a company or whatever if you want to, if you're having international problems, but require them to be made in America. Not maybe the majority, because most industries, at least in America, are 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. So you could always, ramp up and get more people working and turn that into a 24/7 industry if you had to, truly, if China breaks into a civil war with the wars going on in Europe and whatever, and you can't get whatever it is, you could ramp up the, truly declare a national emergency, maybe just on a single industry somewhere, but whatever it is, and ramp up something. I would require some of that be done on all strategically found interests, like the U.S. requires all weapon systems that it buys to be made in America. The special forces and a few others, they buy weird and exotic stuff, or just stuff from other countries that they only want 500 of the particular gun or something. Not a reason to make it in the U.S. But all the standard issue equipment. But it can be a Beretta pistol, or I believe it's FN has been until this new HK weapon or whatever that is being made. Sorry, I'm blanking on the new name. But the M4 carbine, it's made by a foreign company, but it's made in the U.S. All manufactured here. So require it to all of our weapons are required by law to be made in the United States wherever they're designed, and wherever the now if they're secret weapons, stuff on a submarine, they've got to be made by an American company. But we really don't care if the Soviets or whoever knows the technical specs of the pistol the soldier carries. So that can be a foreign designed and whatever product. So generally speaking, things should be left to the market as much as practical, but I would make sure that there are strategic interests that are not, and I'm not saying in the idea of protectionism in that. And this is where I have to agree with the people that want market forces. Go, hey, America's steel industry after World War II was outdated, and because it was pre-World War II technology, and Japan and Korea wasn't really at the time yet a steel producer, and Germany and whatever are modernizing their industry. So yes, we shouldn't do protectionism to keep our outdated industry. The problem is countries like Japan and Germany were subsidizing, not just subsidizing the update, building new factories, but continuing to subsidize steel production, so that they destroyed the American steel production largely, and the company just went out of business, not modernized. So if you make laws that say, hey, like all steel sold in America, figure out, you know, 'cause you have major manufacturers for steel, 20% or 30% or 60% or whatever it might be must be made in America. And so you limit the amount that you can import. So if you think you're still going to have steel, it'll be worth it to reinvest in steel industry and that kind of thing. So that's good. Okay, let me go back and look at this. My strategy is to stand firm on the point against Japan on the Pacific and then demobilize their navy so they can't attack us. Then most of the land army will attack North Africa and Italy. Yeah, that's sort of how I'm looking at that, son. This topic reminds me what I read this morning about the Green Party in Germany closing nuclear plants. Yes, and they're closing nuclear plants. Now, the reason they've closed most of the ones in Japan after the Fukushima ones, they realized that a lot of them are coastal. Even though I think they shut down some of the non-coastal ones too, but a lot of them are coastal, and because of the types of earthquakes that you have, because there's two types of earthquakes, some where the fault lines move up and down, and some where they move along, alongside each other. In California, almost all of them move alongside of each other, so even the ones that are under the water will not create a tsunami. But Japan's, many of them, are the types that are go up and down. And whether they go up or they go down, they create a tsunami. And so you can get not just a tsunami, but then you get the Fukushima nuclear problem of a plant being swamped by a tidal wave, and they're not built to withstand that and keep running, so you have that problem. So I understand why Japan did that. Germany followed suit, but Germany is not, one, earthquake prone, and two, most of them are not coastal. So neither of those things. So they've shut those down, and now I hear that they're going to be reopening, at least temporarily, some coal plants in Germany to make up for the lack of natural gas coming into Germany. So yeah, decoy army will attack Italy and turn all the Axis forces in Western Europe. Really, because I demand war. Yes. Hello, Extreme Finger. Sorry, I'll get back to playing. I just got off onto an interesting topic there. So yeah, market forces are good. Well, yeah, it's not operational, and I don't know. The Japanese, I believe, I heard something about it. I think a year or more ago. They're working on cleaning it up. I mean, the Japanese aren't going to leave a mess. Now, I don't know how fast they're working on it. Yes, you can have technical expertise to build a submarine. How fast they're working on cleaning it up, but they are working on cleaning it up. Okay, what I want to do here is, let's increase reinforcement down. Okay, what we're going to do here we're going to see 10,000. No, we're going to wait a little bit. Okay, this we will add to. We're going to have a 4-wing fighter group, or whatever you want to call it, and we're going to send these out to the Philippines. Okay, that's 5. We already have 3 there. How big is this base? 1. Well, that is Clark Field. Guess we'll put. Well, we're going to need to organize up. Okay. I'm going to leave 1 squadron here to escort this bomber group. We're going to move that up to there. Rebase to there. We have to keep in mind, because I do want these guys to get organized up. This is going to create our hopefully dominant area fighter capabilities. I'm doing very good, and how are you doing, Dreamfinger? Gold mining. Okay, just what I was looking for. 1,400 there. Okay, so now, because it gives me a little bit of a cushion, we're going to invest in our industry, which will reduce the consumer goods during peacetime. Needed. Which gets rid of all of this need, so we can go down to there. And Working on. Just got okay. More fighters in the front. Yeah, let's. These two divisions, Marine Corps coming good. Well, armor motorized infantry. Don't want to spend too huge. We'll do. They call it motorcycle reconnaissance. We're going to call it Jeep reconnaissance because that would have been the American Harley Davidson and some of the other Indian and other motorcycle companies made a massive amounts of motorcycles for the army, but America never used them, to the best of my knowledge, as a planned organization, as a reconnaissance, like Germany or whoever was doing motorcycle reconnaissance. They were just using them as dispatch riders and other sort of utility mobility type elements. Okay. Let's throw on a motorized support. We'll use one of the HQs. So we'll get that going. It's 55 ICs. Yeah, that's going to be expensive, I know. Well, let's go down from motorized infantry to brigade to a motorized infantry battalion, and that'll save us 10 ICs there. That'll be better. There we go. So we'll start that into production. I know it won't be full, but get it going. Hello, the Ruzenkuris. I'm sure I'm butchering it. I have not played much of Victoria 2 at all. So no. It's not that I wouldn't like it, it's just I haven't just gotten into the game. Yeah, so hello, Plastic Gangster. Yes. A lot of did the same things. Yes, Japs are allowed. Yeah, I mean, it's not the most kind thing to call them, I'll admit, but it isn't an inherently negative pejorative. It's like, I don't know, like calling Americans Yanks or something, short for Yankee or whatever. And there's a lot of Americans that aren't Yankees. But yeah, oh, you had to allow it, Arno? Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, no, Japs isn't a particularly derogatory term as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure everybody can find offense at something, but yes, thank you, Arno. You're doing a good job with the stuff. And I because I'm watching. I am watching the just partially to see the how the screen's doing, the Twitch stream, and I use a Restream application that shows me the other chats, including the Twitch chats, is what I'm reading here. So I don't see the notifications like needing to allow something here to do it. I would only ever use a reference in the Second World War and its accepted jargon in that context. Yeah, absolutely. And I, yes, I get treat others how you want to be treated. I get that. But when others treat you certain ways, I don't feel bad treating them back. Because they call us gaijin, which, to the best of my understanding from my Japanese school teacher, that means, in essence, maybe not a literal translation, but a general translation, meaning Southern barbarian, because the sailors sort of came up from the South and whatnot here. So yeah, since we're the gaijin, yeah, they can be the Japs. Even in a modern, I don't know that they would be offended. I mean, it's not the most kind thing to do. And if there was a Japanese person watching here, and especially we're talking about World War II, I'll still call them Japs. So it's, not literally to their face, but figuratively to their face. Now, I'm not putting something like dirty or other negative elements in front of it, or Nara just popped into my mind because what's happened. Some other sort of pejorative. I just take it as a shorthand to it. And again, it's not the most polite thing to say, but it's not a huge negative thing to say. They ban it from, yeah, they do. Hello, spiraling. It's been a while since I've seen you here. Some parts of you will probably be abandoned for a few hundred years. Could be, but, and I don't know. Again, I don't know. But Hiroshima and Nagasaki are populated now, and we dropped nuclear weapons on them. So I don't know if is there more pollution from living in Hiroshima after a nuclear bomb exploded on it, or from the Fukushima. Now, I'm not saying cleaning up the actual reactor, whether you're digging it out of the ground and somehow disposing because you can relatively safely dispose of the contaminated material, but I don't know what's more. Jin means people, not sure what Gaijin means. But I was told that it sort of had same thing as calling Germans Krauts. Yes, it's not, and I would sit around like, I know Arno's going to soon be hanging out with Niagara, with my German friends and call them Krauts to their faces. Now they're friends of mine, and if I was trying to be polite to a group of them, I probably, like if I was doing a public speaking thing, I probably wouldn't call them a bunch of Krauts. But yeah, it's context. And Gaijin, I remember, is a foreign devil because pretty sure Jin is devil in Japanese. And it may go back to like the Jin in Asian. Yeah, it's not that. So yeah, I know they get all kinds of stuff meltdown soon after it's meltdown. So I don't know how that's different than a nuclear weapon. America planned nuking Tokyo as well, but Japan surrendered. Yeah, I know there was definite follow-on stuff, but we didn't have too many more bombs. I don't remember exactly how much. Yeah, DGIN. Well, it depends on how you're going, but I'm seeing corollaries to the Jin of Middle Eastern culture, and I don't know if there's a connection, either ancient or a little more modern. Okay, now we sent off that group. Okay, good enough. Fighter group here. We're going to send him to Guam. Yeah, I don't know the etymology of the word in Japan, and whether because sometimes a word like that can come out of the Middle East, sort of like Buddhism is spread through India, through China, and by the time the Japanese hear the term, it's mutated. What they think of a Jin might be, and comes because I know I don't know I don't know anywhere near the details of it, but there's been a lot of cultural influence of China and Japan over the millennia, not just recently, but deep into the past. Now the Japanese have never been conquered by the Chinese or the Mongols, who actually tried twice, but there's been a lot of cultural contact. Obviously, their writing system, the higher level, the kanji, is Chinese based, out of China. So there's got to be a huge amount of cultural influences. Even though the words I believe mostly are entirely different words. They're just use the same picture word, meaning verbal sounds are different. But again, I don't know the details of how well they're connected. So I could easily see a word like that coming out of the Middle East Or maybe even possibly, if it comes out of something Chinese, I would maybe go as older and move to the Middle East or something. I don't know, but I could see how that is a connection. I beyond just that. Hakujin means white person, spent 10 years in Japan, 4 of them in the Marines. Ah, spiraling. Okay, good. Yeah. Hakujin, white person. So Jin may be sort of, well, I don't know, white person, white, yeah. And, Gaijin, so like foreign, a southern barbarian, is what I heard, is how they refer to it as opposed to other barbarians. And so foreigner just maybe the similar to connotation to as in a barbarian. It may be. I don't know. Would you like Hoi 4 if the game was like Hoi 3 but with geographical update? Well, the map is, I think the map for the areas that actually contested in World War II, the map is better in Hoi 3 than Hoi 4. I like the flat map of Hoi 3. I don't like the 3D map as well. I prefer the counters and a flat map. So I don't know that that's an improvement. Differently, one of them read top to bottom and the others read left to right or something like that. Jin means people or persons. Nothing to do with the Middle East Jin. Okay. Thank you, Spiraling. Gaijin War Thunder Company, yes. I understand Gaijin was originally formed in Hungary, maybe. But yeah, they're definitely using the Japanese word there. Are you streaming on YouTube? Yes, I'm on YouTube as well, Plastic Gangster, live everywhere. So I'm seeing all the chats from everywhere but Twitter. If anybody's commenting there, I don't see that until later. Yeah, unfortunately, YouTube doesn't have a way to superimpose the text onto the image like Twitch does. So the YouTube people will see the Twitch comments superimposed onto the screen, as far as I know they do. But there isn't a widget that I can plug in to properly show onto the screen like Twitch. In some ways, Twitch is just better. In some ways, YouTube is better. They both have their betternesses and different things. So yeah, that's why I sort of kind of try to read the text as well, so that people can know what I'm referring to. I cannot stand sprites like NATO can. I like the NATO counters better. So this is better for me. Yeah, Plastic Gangster, wherever you want to watch is best for you. I know some people have better watching experience on Twitch. And like I say, I'm paying attention. I'm also, hey, if you prefer it, I'm on Facebook, and I though I don't get to see what you say, I'm also live on Twitter right now as well. Just I'm not suggesting anybody go over there really, but that's more. And I have a link to the YouTube page. If you really actually want to spend time and watch, and not just happen to get the notification and see the live feed of it. It's meant to get you over into either YouTube or Twitch. Oh yeah, no, and you'll see if you're on YouTube, you should see all the chat on YouTube. So wherever you want to see it, I mean, actually you should see all of it there, because it should be on the screen on the left-hand side on YouTube, I believe it is. I mean, tell me if for some reason that isn't working. Because I see it I'm just watching that, and I know it's recorded, so I think it's put up and go on through all of this. Okay, we will buy supplies just to give them money because we got lots of money. Export of tungsten, no. Another fighter wing. This is partially what I wanted to do. Let's see. No, not a. I mean, if I got a naval bombers or something, I'll use some of these carrier hit guys, but just for fighters. Don't need naval warfare. Um, you're going out to Wake Island. Now, of course, this is unrealistic, and they would have to ship fighters out this far by any aircraft. They could fly B-17s from the mainland to Hawaii, but that was about as far as you could go. Okay, submarine damage control has advanced. I believe that is here, and it is grayed out. Okay, we got more projects to handle. So not to do more of that. Had all the tungsten, didn't they? Yeah, they had a lot of it. I believe, because supposedly they haven't been able to do good. The really good Swedish steel might have been naturally infused or mixed, or the iron ore that they were getting and creating the steel out of it. The ore veins that they were looking at that had become played out very well might have been tungsten rich. There were a few other tungsten sources in Europe, but the major ones for Europe, mind you, for Europe, were right along the Spanish-Portuguese border area. Yeah, Wolfram, it's also called, yes. Yeah, I know. I just need to keep going forward on this. I'm not declaring war. They get to declare war on me, so I'm going to let it happen. But we're in November. And okay, we're going to end the episode, but we're going to hello Starstreak, but we're going to keep going here live. So those watching later on YouTube, thank you so much. I really appreciate it if you've made it this far in. Hit that like button, post a comment, and all of that good stuff. See you next time for more. Yes, even more.